And we come to it at last, the last video of 2021 material. You guys ready to lay that year to rest with me? Let's do it. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with the yearly wrap-up. We say goodbye to another year of Mike's book reviews, and we're heading to year number 3. You know, honestly, when I started this, I didn't imagine that would happen, but here we are, and I'm very, very thankful for it. In 2021, you know, I think in hindsight, it was a much better year for me than 2020, and I think that's just because I live in a state where maybe a lot of the restrictions going on around the world right now aren't as prevalent, you know, so I think that might play into it. So if you're still struggling out there, you know, stick with it. I gotta hope that everything is going to get better, guys, because it's continuing to get better here, and I'm hoping around the world as well. But that's enough real life. Let's talk about some books. Let's talk about some things that happened in 2021, the good, the bad, and maybe the very, very ugly. Let's begin, guys, with what I read in 2021. Now, I'm not going to list every book I read here. I already did that when I did my top 10 books of the year. You can look there, and I did my pinned comment, and it listed everything that I read for the year. But it was 73 books, 38 manga volumes. I know there's a lot of people out there who still don't think that reading comics or manga count, but you know, trades are pretty thick. I think they count. If funny pages count, then I guess I would count comics as well. But if you don't, then hey, 73 books. I had one did not finish this year. One, and that was the Skull Throne by Peter V. Brett, the Demon Cycle number 4. If you watch the weekly updates, I talk about some stuff that I don't review on the channel. I'll talk about exactly what I'm reading at that time, and I may give like my mini reviews. You can go all the way back to February 12th was the weekly update for that one, where I can talk about why I did not finish that book, nor will I be returning to that world. It's right there next to Lightbringers, one of my biggest disappointments of having one of the strongest book ones and becoming a series that I did not finish. I had one shelving, and what shelving means is I plan to come back to it later. I was reading Harry Potter to my kid, and he seemed to lose interest around book 5, where they start talking about their owls and taking tests and stuff. So I can see why he kind of lost interest there. So it was one of those things that, hey, let's take a break. And you know what? It's been months now, so I don't know if we're going to be going back to that. He's reading his own kind of stuff now, which is the goal as a parent, but it does suck. It doesn't seem like we're going to get to finish reading Harry Potter together. But that was Order of the Phoenix has been shelved, potentially coming back. So that's it, guys. I don't DNF a lot of books. Really, I'll stop some and come back to them later. But if I just straight up DNF it, it's really got to be painful. I think Night Angel was the last thing. Number 2 was the last thing that I DNF'd in the way that I DNF'd that Demon Cycle book. Very, very tragic. But let's talk about some of maybe my most read authors of 2021. Again, if you don't count manga, that's on you. I count it. So, of course, Kentaro Miura is going to be number 1 on my list. I did read 29 Berserk volumes in 2021, so that's going to be leading the charge. Stephen King, obviously, I was doing Into the Multiverse every month, so there's going to be a lot of those. Those were 9. And, of course, Michael Crichton. We were doing the Michael Crichton Great Reread at the time, which has since been canceled. But I did 8 books by Mr. Crichton. So look there. My 2 favorite authors of all time, King and Crichton, are 1-2 as far as novels go on this list. Then, of course, we're doing the Malazan read-along. So Steven Erikson has 7 books on this list. Then I got Obata and Oba with 6. That is the gentleman who wrote Death Note. So I read 6 trade volumes of that. Then Blake Crouch with 5, and I'll be talking about Blake Crouch very, very soon. Anna Stevens had 3, and Robin Hobb had 3, and then there were several with 2, and that is kind of where we were for the year. Lots of trying to read some series or doing read-alongs, things like that led to me reading, a few specific authors, more so than the other ones. I think it might be more spread out a little bit in 2022, but I think that's always the goal, is to kind of spread things out. But I will also be trying to complete a lot of new series. I'm trying to stick to, guys, like after Wheel of Time and then following that up with Malazan, I'm like, I need to go back to the 3 or 4 book series. Go back to some of those smaller series. That's kind of why I'm doing, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn right now. Then I'm going to be doing Nevernight. I think the biggest one I have planned right now is Codex Alera, and that's 6. So I think I'm going to slow down on these, double digits numbers of books and series for a while, just kind of until I feel like I'm back not feeling so stressed out about some things, because I never want reading to feel stressed out. And when I was scheduling that many read-alongs, I felt like I was starting to get stressed out, and that's why I made the changes that I did. I think something kind of fun here to do. We talk about my books of the month for the whole year, what I had for each month. So I kind of had to go back to all those videos and see if I remembered this. For January, it was Revival by Stephen King. Excellent book. Also made my top 10 for the year. February, it was Wintertide by Michael J. Sullivan. I think he joined Stephen King as the only one who had a repeat month on this list. March was Later by Stephen King. So there we go. No surprise there. April was Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Easily one of my favorite science fiction books of all time now. May is Persepolis by Michael J. Sullivan. So those last two books in Raya Revelations, very good. There was a very good payoff to the previous four. So that 6-book series had an incredible wrap-up. So I can't say enough about that. June ended up being my book of the year, guys. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Just an awesome, awesome book. July, the only manga to make it for book of the month, and this was Death Note. And I think, it's not a big surprise. I mean, it's a very, very popular series for a reason, even if I just now am reading it. August was Midnight Tides, the only Malazan book to make a book of the month so far. September was Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. And, hey, that was sci-fi September, so I'm glad a sci-fi book got it, because October, a horror book, we did spooky season, and a horror book did not get it. October, that was Pines by Mr. Blake Crouch, an author I think that just continues to absolutely crush it. November was Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I actually got to talk to him after that. It was very, very exciting for me as a content creator to be able to talk to a New York Times bestselling author. That's always going to be a thrill. I don't care how you put it, how big or little your channel is. You get to talk to a major published author. That's always going to be a lot of fun. And then December was Dark Soul. That's Godblind number 2 by Anna Stevens. So it's fun to go back and look at that and see which ones actually made my top 10 and which ones did not. That's actually a lot of fun. So, when you're doing book of the month, you can only go off of what you read, and it isn't necessarily going to be your 12 best books that you read all year. But it's fun to go back and look at and remember, what you were really enjoying that month. Let's talk about some good old channel growth for 2021. Now, I want to make a slight amendment. I did post a picture on my Instagram and on the Facebook page and even on the Discord. I used a thing that was called YouTube Tracker, and it would list your stats for the year. Well, the thing was, I posted that, and then I went into analytics on YouTube. It's something that us content creators can look at, and that site had my numbers way off. It was actually, for the worst. So I actually go into YouTube and get the official numbers from YouTube, which I'm going to take, as accurate because it's straight from YouTube. So I'm going to go off of those numbers. So if you're wondering why they look a little different maybe than that, I'm not padding my stats here, trust me. For the year, 26,264 new subscribers. Now, obviously, that is down from 2020. It's down 7,272 from 2020. Now, I want to look at it like this, guys. You're always going to kind of taper off a little bit. Some people think that it just goes up after a while. I think that when you really explode, like I kind of had the channel do in 2020, a lot of that had to do with there were a lot of people at home. There were a lot of people that were in lockdown. They were not out and about. Hey, it brought a lot of new people to the channel, and that's the silver lining of that whole dark time for us as a globe, So I think that that's always going to be something that is not going to be very devastating. Look, I'm not going to get upset about 26,000 new subscribers in a year. So there we go, 3.7 million views. Now that number is way up from 2020, 1.3 million more than 2020. So way more views than there were new subscribers this year. And then 595,000 hours of watch time. That is also a big 235,000 hours up from 2020. So views and watch time way up this year. I think the watch time is because I started doing more collaborations. I started having some longer videos on the channel, because it was just me. I try to keep it around 20 minutes. I think that's kind of the sweet spot. But when I've got some guests on or whatever, we usually talk about an hour to anywhere up to like 3 hours. So, that has people watching some things a little longer. So obviously easy to see that, but still really cool to see. Obviously that means you're making quality content because you're keeping people engaged, even if they aren't pressing that subscribe button. But yeah, people watch content more and subscribe less. As far as the reason for that, I can't really tell you, because I know that there are people, guys, they will subscribe and they'll never watch again, so that isn't the end all be all. The end all be all is how many views and how long people are watching your video. So those are the numbers that you want as a content creator to see. It's hard to be discouraged, like I said, especially with the majority of people returning to work in 2021. But look, I do think that the 100,000 subs, I guess you say as a content creator, that's your goal. You get that plaque for your wall, if that matters to you at all. I think that's kind of every content creators. And once they realize, hey, this has got a little bit of footing, I think their big goal is, hey, I want to get to 100,000. That just kind of feels like it makes it official that you can call yourself a YouTuber. Even if this is a side thing for me, I think it'd be really cool. But again, I don't see with this trajectory going the way it is, I don't see that happening in 2022. Maybe not in 2023. Again, I think that's kind of like an end goal for the channel would be to reach 100,000. I'd feel like, hey, I really achieved something there. But I always feel like I've achieved something here. I get messages all the time from people about how I've, helped their mental state. And I've got them back into reading. That's obviously, as a content creator, that's the greatest thing. And especially someone who is a bookworm such as myself. I hear all these people say that I brought them back into reading. That's awesome. That's what I love to hear. Let's talk about a little bit of the most popular content in 2021. I did 245 videos this year. Wild, right? Because I thought going back to work, it's going to be much less this year. But I think I did 251 in 2020, so only 6 less going back to full-time work. How about that? Crazy, right? I do it for you guys. I like to hustle for y'all. My 6 most viewed videos this year, though, they were from 2020. So this is going to be talking about my most popular content of stuff I made in 2021. So again, a lot of those older videos, look, Kindle videos are always going to kill. So those old ones are still chugging along. My top 10 horror novels is still chugging along. My top 10 fantasy stuff, all those are, and of course, Wheel of Time and Dune. I did Why You Should Reads on both of those. Those both went up since there were adaptations of those in 2021. So that's why those had so many more views than content I put out this year. But again, we're just going to talk about the 2021. Obviously, my top video of 2021, guys, 49,000 views, was Berserk, the Golden Age, talking about that very famous arc in Berserk by Kentaro Miura. And, it's tragic that it came right around the time of his passing. But this was something that had been talked about for a long time. I think I wanted to prove to people is that I would never say never. People all the time ask me, you read manga? And I was like, look, I don't really have an interest in it. But you know what? I finally said, why not? A viewer actually sent me volume number 1. I said, okay, why not? I'll check it out. And I fell in love with it. And of course, The Golden Age was as good as everyone said it was. Maybe even better. I said it's one of the best coming-of-age fantasy stories I've ever read, and I've read a lot of them. So I was happy to talk about that, and I think it brought a whole new slew of viewers to the channel. Now they might be a little more disappointed when they realize I'm not doing a ton of manga on the channel, nor am I prioritizing manga because I'm still reading Berserk, I'm still reading Death Note, I haven't started Vinland Saga. I got this huge set of all these manga that people have been sending me, and I'm going to read them. I'm just always going to, prioritize the written word first. So I think that might discourage some of those people. But I will be getting back to it. I know you guys want that Falcon Millennium arc. I'm almost done with it. So I'll be reviewing it rather soon. Top 10 fantasy series for beginners. That is 35,000 views. And I gave full credit to Moid from Media Death Cult for that idea. And people still dragged me in the comments saying I copied Moid, even though I gave him credit for it. But hey, again, I think Moid is a great top 10 creator. He does do a lot of good top 10 videos, so I don't try to do them very much. But when I like to do them, when I feel like it's something that matters, it's important. And I got so many people asking me, hey, I'm kind of new to fantasy. Actually, what it was, people being like, I'm new to fantasy. Can I start with this Malazan read-along? I'm like, no. So I want to talk about some series that they could start with and kind of get, interested in the genre. Because that top 10 horror novels video brought me a lot of horror fans that were like, I'm not really into reading fantasy. Where should I start? So I kind of wanted to do that to where they kind of base it off of like, your skill level, what you consider yourself as a reader. And kind of that video I did 10, going kind of all the way up to where I think a beginner could really start and not feel completely blown away by it. The new Kindle Paperwhite. Like I said, Kindle videos are always going to do well here. I think it's because you have tech channels that specify and stuff like that, and they're going to be able to tell you how many megapixels and teraflops and all that stuff much, much better than I am. They're going to show you hands-on stuff. They're going to show you all this cool little diagram and stuff. Like me, I'm always going to have a fixed camera angle, and I'm going to talk about what it's like as a book reader to read off of the device. So I think that kind of resonated with people who actually really wanted to get one and know what it was like for someone who's going to use it primarily just to read. So again, those always seem to do well. And I wasn't going to do that one, but I got so many messages and requests about it. I said, why not? My wife could use and upgrades. And everyone dragged me for not getting her my Oasis when I got it. But again, she didn't want that one. But she did want a new Paperwhite, so that's why we did it. 27,000 views was the Dune IMAX preview. My thoughts about going and seeing that, where I got to see the first 10 minutes of the film and a special scene right in the middle of it. If you've seen it now, you know the scene. It's the sandcrawler. It's the you know the scene. I still don't want to talk. I feel like I still don't want to spoil Dune. All these years of talking about it, I still don't want to spoil Dune for people. But yeah, that was just my instant reaction to that, and where I said, hey, Dune is in good hands, guys. Be confident. This is going to be really, really great. And what do you know? It turned out to be really, really great, I think. And then 26,000 views, my interview with the author, Joe Abercrombie. I think the best comment I got on that was like, this is like if you've been watching like your one friend who's been trying to get with that one girl for years and then he finally does. Well, that was an interesting analogy, but you know what? I'll take it. It was very, very much on my bucket list as a booktuber, was to talk to my favorite modern fantasy author, Joe Abercrombie, and I finally got to do it, and we talked for about an hour and a half, and he's just an awesome guy. I laughed and the whole time, and it was just a really good time. It was really, really fun being able to finally talk to him, ask him some of the questions I always had in my head forever, reading his books and wondering what he thought when this happened and things like that. It was really, really just, again, a personal thing for me, and I'm glad that, there was so much interest in it. There are some favorites I have that, might not have got as many views as the others. I enjoyed getting to talk to other content creators. That was kind of the best for me. As the Wheel Turns with Madison was a ton of fun for me. Regardless of the feedback we got on those, the veteran talks when I was doing those for Malazan, that was really good, helping me unpack a lot of those early books and stay engaged in that world, which could be kind of confusing. And then, of course, launching Talk About Nothing, which is just like a video podcast where we just, no notes, no script, nothing. We just turn the microphones and cameras on and see what happens, see what we talk about. It's just something that comes from my coming up into this genre as a podcaster. I was doing podcasting for years before I started doing this. And as much as I love talking to you guys, I love having someone talk back. That's a lot of fun for me. Having someone talk back to you is a ton of fun. So I'm glad that people have seemed to like those, and I'm going to continue doing those. I want to move those up to about one per month here. Do have some channel goals for 2022. And look, growth really did hit a wall the last quarter of the year. Really, the first quarter and the last quarter really, really slowed down. And that's what really helped me when I went back to work, being like, okay, I made the right decision, not trying to do this full time. So that helped me quite a bit. But I think it's, if you look at the trajectory, like a year-to-year thing, if it stays constant, and since I've started this, I've seen about a 22% drop between the first year and the first full year and the second full year. About a 22% drop. So if that stays true, I think about a 80,000 sub range should be the goal, for the channel in 2022. You look at it and be like, oh, that's really not that much, it's less. But again, you play these things by numbers, guys. That's what the trajectory looks like. And I wouldn't be upset with that number. Again, when I started this, my end goal was 5,000, you guys. So this has all been just a wild ride for me, and I'm happy for it. My goal on this channel is get people interested in reading again, make it feel like a community for anyone and everyone, regardless if we agree, regardless if we have different opinions on the world. It doesn't matter. I want you to feel welcome here. That's always going to be something. I see so many content creators like, well, if you think this, or this, I don't want you here. I'm never going to be that person. If you like to read, you are welcome here. If you're interested in reading, you are welcome here. If you just want to watch my Off the Books where I talk about movies and stuff, you are welcome here. I want to make sure I continue to make everyone feel like they have a place here and they are part of this community and they are part of the channel. That's why I make all this kind of stuff and get very transparent with you guys about how the channel is doing, because I want you to feel like you're a part of it. And I just want to continue on focusing kind of on helping smaller channels get going. Because there are still a lot of booktubers that are just getting going. They're still kind of struggling to find an audience, and they're getting discouraged. And I want to kind of help them any way that I can, be it if I have them on to talk about nothing, or if, I just, anything I can do to help them, just kind of get people to their channel to check out their stuff, to give them a chance. Because a lot of things, guys, with the algorithm is people just don't find them. That's the thing is a lot of people think you just turn this on and you make a couple videos and next thing you know, you got a couple thousand subscribers. It really doesn't work like that. I did this on YouTube for 3 years before I found, it was a different format back then, but it took that long until I found an audience. So it takes a long time, and I don't want people getting discouraged. So anything I can do to help them, be it words or advice or having them on the channel to talk to them or going on their channel, anything I can do to help them, I want to make sure I continue to do that. I love collaborations, guys. I love working with others. It's part of going to business school is you really learn how to help others out and work well as a team. And I want to make sure that I continue to help out my peers any way that I can. But 2021, great year. Again, I hope that 2022 continues to just help the channel grow and help this community get better and better, because I don't do a lot of like chest beating on this channel and about how great everything is, but I'm very proud of this community that I built. It's very, very positive. As the Will Turns episodes aside, the community is very, very positive as a whole. I think that the Discord is the greatest place on the internet because everyone is so friendly and nice and compassionate and loving and caring. I mean, we even did a Secret Santa on there, for God's sakes. That's how close everyone is on that Discord. So I'm very, very proud of this community I built, and I hope that it will continue to stay that way in 2022. And if you're new to the channel, hopefully you will consider joining it. So guys, that was my year. How was your year? You have like a book of the year, anything you want to talk about? Drop in the comments and let me know, and I will talk to you there.